Good afternoon, I am Marc Sumner, host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and today I have the pleasure of Carlene Jackson, the CEO of Cloud9 Insight, in the studio. How are we doing, Carlene? I was normally saying Charlene the whole time, but I am going to get it right. It is Carlene. So how are we doing, Carlene?
Fantastic. Great to be here. My first time this part of the world. So it's great to be here. It's a pretty place, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely is. It absolutely is. Thanks very much for taking the time to come to the studio. For all the listeners that don't know who Cloud9 Insight are and who is yourself, Carlene, can you give them a bit of background about yourself and the company?
I'm getting on in age now. That might take a while, but I'll give you the short version. So I was born in Ireland, and I've actually sort of probably accidentally fell into tech, but I've been here all my working career. And started out in IBM and had some fantastic sales training there, and progressed through into sort of in and out of consulting. I think I'm really a salesperson at heart, actually. It's probably served me well as an entrepreneur. But I founded Cloud9 Insight 12 years ago in 2010, and it was fantastic timing for me because I love cloud technology and I love CRM. I've spent my whole life sort of selling customer relationship management solutions, starting at IBM, and Microsoft at the time were just launching for the first time CRM, their cloud-first solution now called Dynamics Customer Engagement. They were launching it into the UK for the first time, and so they met me and said, "Hey, you love CRM and you love cloud technology. Come and work with us." And we've never looked back. We've been very fortunate to have a really great working relationship with Microsoft, and that's what keeps us busy.
What obviously when you started your career in tech, and I noticed on LinkedIn you've been at IBM, what interested you initially to go into tech? Because it's not a natural career path for most people. They don't naturally go into it straight away. So what enticed you to come into it?
I like the fast pace. I would say I am an adrenaline junkie, and I love the fast pace of tech. First of all, you need to keep your skills up to date and always be interested in what's coming around the corner and what's new and shiny. But it's also the end of the day is sort of comes around very fast, and you're not sitting there twiddling your thumbs. There's always so much to do, and I love the spirit of the people that work in that sector. They're ambitious, smart people. I remember one day when I was at IBM, my colleague turned around and she observed, "Aren't we very lucky we get to be surrounded by all these clever people?" And she went to Oxford, actually. So I just sat back and thought, yeah, we are. We're in this industry where people are very highly motivated and driven, and there's not enough talent. So that sort of keeps us all busy, I guess.
And so talking of talent, you had the inclination to think, I'm going to start a company. Now, most people might have an idea of thinking, yeah, it sounds good starting a company, but then actually executing is a totally different matter. So take me back to those days. What made you think, actually, I'm going to start Cloud9, and how did it happen?
Yeah. So I had the inkling that I would start my own business. And my brother was, he's always very wise, and he's a serial entrepreneur. And he said, stop making money for other people. Make money for yourself. And I had always assumed that I needed to innovate a new idea, a new product in order to start my own business. And he said to me, "No, you don't need to do that at all. Don't wait for that." He said, "Just do what people are already buying. Take it what's out there already that's clearly there's a demand for, but just do it better." And I thought, well, I could definitely do that. I'm an aspiring perfectionist. So that's when I had the idea to launch my own business in the CRM space. And I think I'm very lucky because I've spent my whole life doing sort of this from a sales and consulting perspective. I felt I had a lot of the skills I needed to go into that space.
When you started, you had a business partner, and if I remember when we spoke at lunch, you were going to move abroad. So tell the listeners that, because that just sounds ludicrous to me to think I'm going to start a business and then think of move abroad. So what was the thought process behind that?
Well, I would say that actually probably one of the things that's helpful, it's not essential, but helpful when you start a business is actually you can't need the money, if you know what I mean. You have to change might have to change your personal circumstances, whether it's get a loan or find a rich boyfriend who will support you or whatever. But it's really important that you sort of have a look at your finances and think, what can I do without money or less money for a period of time? Because if you see starting a business as a job and you look at it as extracting as much money as possible from the business, then it's very hard to grow, because I think one of the ambitions of a new business owner should be to grow your team, to grow a team around you. Otherwise, you're always doing everything. You're doing the selling and the delivery. And that's a really hard game, really, because it's very stressful. Your income's up and down. You definitely need to be able to leave money in the business to hire people and grow the business. And so I was lucky to meet my founding business partner, who remains a good friend, Nigel Woodpath. And I would say in hindsight, I probably perceived him to be more technical than I was, but we're probably similar, I would say, and we probably had similar skill sets. So if you do start a business with somebody, try and look for where you're different, because it's definitely great to be able to sort of to have a balanced team of different skills. Having said that, if you can actually not start a business with anyone and just do it by yourself, I would always recommend that. I know so many people who have had down the line have had very, very difficult situations that typically are drawn out for a year or more, where one partner's buying out the other, and it's probably like a terrible divorce, not a very nice thing, and very stressful and very distracting for the business. I'm very fortunate. Nigel and I are still good friends, and we had a very positive experience of sort of separation, where he decided he wanted to go off into business coaching. And so, and that was probably also based on where we were in 2 years into the business. It wasn't generating enough profits that both of us could take the market value of income that we'd been used to. I was okay because I just moved to France, and I had given up the lifestyle of the south of England that I had, sadly now have again. But it's good and bad. It's sort of, I think my mum gave me sort of advice as a kid. She goes, the difference between rich people and poor people is rich people owe a lot more money. And I was like, now as an older person, I can relate to that. But I think in life, you accidentally commit yourself to financial situations that actually you maybe don't have to. You can, and then for me, moving to France gave me a lot of opportunities to realize an ambition to have my kids bilingual. They were 6 and 9 at the time. Gave me an ambition to ski more often, because I love to ski, and to travel and to be around different cultural diversity is fantastic opportunity too. And I could do with the cloud. I actually had in my LinkedIn living the cloud dream, and so that for me was what I did for 4 years.
Would you give advice to someone who was starting a business? And you mentioned there about your lifestyle, you changed it, and you actually downgraded, or actually for the better, maybe in some ways. What advice would you give to people that think it's actually going to be all sunshine and roses and they're going to earn lots more money when they start? How would you say their mindset should go into it? Because you will earn less money, definitely year one.
Yeah, 100%. I would say you definitely do have to sort of manage your expectations, and maybe managing the expectations of other people around you. If you're the breadwinner, you might have to downsize. Maybe, I don't know, rent out where you are, and if you own it, or and then downsize for a period so you can not worry about your sort of rental income or whatever other expenses that you may have. And I think it's important to sort of, for me, it's really important to sort of have it's a bit like probably they say about shares, buy for the long term. And you need to be very clear in your mind. Are you starting this business because you want to be self-employed and you want to have the freedom of choosing when you work, and almost like the contract market? Or are you actually looking to build a business? And just because you're looking to build a business doesn't mean it has to be like sort of 100 people or a lot of people. But I think if you can have enough people in the business that you've got the key roles covered that aren't your strengths, or that maybe even are your strengths, but you're not having to do multiple different roles, then it's definitely a much easier sort of situation to be in. So you should look to whether it's using funding or reinvesting the profits that you make to grow the business in terms of the people that you have. And my advice is definitely harness sort of some cheaper skills that you can, maybe it could be good quality apprentices who probably got good grades at school, but it's not for them for whatever reason. Or it could be using the associate model where you're tapping into the talent just for the days that you need, whatever that may be. You're outsourcing stuff, whether it's HR or accounting. So just be creative in the early days so you're not having costs in the business that are not necessary, especially during a an uncertain time like a recession or whatever, but definitely look to try and bring in the highest caliber of people. And sometimes the difference between a 20K person, for example, and a 25K person looking at a sort of more general role in the business, then the difference in caliber of person you're going to get will be very significant. And so really think on a monthly basis, is the difference in that salary to get a higher caliber person going to mean that you're going to have to give less of your time to direct that person? Is the quality outcome going to be better? Are they going to be able to grow with your business to take on a leadership role, for example? So really think hard to pay the most you can for the best caliber of people you can early on, because otherwise you'll find that you're the bottleneck and you're doing everything.
Yeah, absolutely.